Today we have a story time of a spoiled kid who ends up stealing his mother's credit card, overloading it, putting all this stuff on the card, and then he gets exposed. Today's a pretty good story, so leave a like in the video to claim your free nothing limited time deal, and let's jump right into it. So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Brian. So anyways, there's a kid who Brian goes to school with and lives in the same neighborhood with, who we're going to call the spoiled kid. So the spoiled kid would normally get everything that he wanted. I mean, his parents had a decent amount of money, but also, look, and a lot of the spoiled kids, their parents were like mega loaded, right? This kid's parents were like, they did pretty well for themselves. They definitely weren't like living paycheck to paycheck or anything, but they were kind of more somewhat average middle class household. However, they would normally give the spoiled kid, whatever he wanted. So today we have a story of when the spoiled kid steals his mom's credit card and goes crazy with it. Because sometimes with other spoiled kids, if they stole their parents' credit card, it wouldn't have been as big of a deal just because like their parents have a gazillion dollars anyways. So, oh no, man, he spent $20 billion. Who cares? They'll just print a trillion more. But in this case, it actually is like a really big deal. So how did this all happen? So Brian one day was, invited to the spoiled kid's house. And he was like, oh, okay. Because Brian and the spoiled kid weren't necessarily boys. They weren't the closest. So he wasn't expecting an invitation like that. So anyways, yeah, when Brian got the invitation, he was like, you know what? Sure, man. I know we're not really close like that, but yeah, if this kid's inviting me over to his house for a sleepover, like, I don't know, maybe he's trying to become friends with me. I mean, Brian was pretty open to this, and he was cool with it. He was kind of excited. So anyways, right, Brian is being dropped off by his mom, and his mom's like, oh, I didn't know, like, as they were driving over, like, oh, Brian, like, this is kind of a surprise to me. I didn't know you and the spoiled kid were close like that. So Brian says, well, actually, we aren't really close like that, but so this is kind of a surprise to me too. However, like, it's a nice offer, and I was like, might as well reciprocate. So, Brian's mom's like, well, I mean, you do know this kid has a little bit of a history. So this kid he wasn't like a bully, he wasn't like that big of a jerk, but he has had a little bit of a history of like, I don't know, being a little, doing some like, not thinking, right? Look, in all fairness, Brian's in 6th grade, and I'm not going to like hold 6th graders to a standard of, oh my God, they're not high intellectuals like me. Like, yeah, dude, you're in 6th grade. Like, you barely have a prefrontal cortex at this point. So I get it. However, right, this kid has been known for being a little bit more irrational than your standard 6th grader, which is definitely saying something. By the way, shout out to all the 6th graders watching me. That was a super fun time to be alive. Really enjoy yourself. That's all I can say. Anyway, so Brian eventually gets to the house, and I know this spoiled kid, this is not the normal house of a spoiled kid. Normally in these videos, when I talk about the house of a spoiled kid, I'm like, oh yeah. And then they show up to the mega mansion. No, actually, there was no mega mansion. It was a nice house. It was an above average house, but it wasn't anything crazy. And I just want to really emphasize that so you guys know when the spoiled kid steals his mom's credit card, it's actually a really big deal. Yeah, so anyways, he gets there, and the spoiled kid comes down and is kind of like, hey, what's good, Brian? What's good, bro? And I think the moms talk a little bit because, like, I don't know. I feel like when you're a parent, like one of the few, like in high school and middle school and college, like you make a lot of friends. And I guess you also make friends at work. But when you're an adult, a lot of times your friend group or your ability to make friends is really diminished. Because it's like you make friends at work, you make friends at like social gatherings you go to. But a really big way is making friends with like other parents of your kids. So, the parents were talking a little bit, and Brian and the spoiled kid go up to the spoiled kid's room. And so in the spoiled kid's room, Brian immediately notices something. It almost feels off, but Brian, I don't know, Brian doesn't see the world with a cynical lens like we might in the comment section, right? But when Brian walks, because remember, this is a nice house. This is a middle class to upper middle class house. So, it's kind of what, it's like, it's nice, it's furnished, it's got, 2 stories, very nice house, right? However, when Brian walks into the spoiled kid's room, it is like Xbox, PS4, insanely cool computer, that, like all the coolest like amenities that like a kid who's in 6th grade would just completely drool over. And a kid would go insane if he got even one of these things for Christmas. His room was decked out unlike any other place in the house. This maybe would make more sense if, like, I don't know, Brian walked into the house and he walked in on like a gold paved like driveway, and then he walked into the spoiled kid's room, which was full of the Xbox, PS4, new gaming computer, all this type of stuff. Maybe that would make more sense, but it was weird. It almost like, there was almost like it didn't fit with the rest of the house. So something seemed a little off from the bat, but here's the thing, as I said before, Brian isn't as skeptical or cynical like we might be. So honestly, Brian sees all this stuff and his eyes just kind of light up. He gets super excited because he's like, oh, word, bro, like, we got a lot of fun stuff to do tonight. So the spoiled kid right away was like, oh yeah, Brian, like, look at all this stuff I have. Like, we're gonna have so much fun. Like, we got Xbox, PS4, gaming computer. Sorry, guys. I'll leave a like for my voice. One like equals one prayer for my dying voice right now. But anyways, sorry. The spoiled kid is like, oh yeah, we got all this fun stuff we can play with. Like, I also got a Wii controller. He brings out like an entire Wii set. It was really weird. Like, also, like, I don't know about you, but if I was a parent, I might buy my kid the Xbox or PS4 or whatever, I guess the popular thing is when I have kids. But the Xbox and PS4, like, why? That kind of, like, didn't make a lot of sense. And Brian was a little bit confused by that, but he was like, oh, I guess the spoiled kid's parents will literally get him anything he wants. Like, I guess there's slight differences between the Xbox and PS4. Oh, you can play different games on them a little bit, but whatever, right? So here's the thing. Brian really wasn't, caring about it, or he wasn't, like, questioning it. Sometimes when something goes well in life, such as Brian being able to play with all these cool things that he doesn't have at home, you just don't question it, bro. You just don't question it. You just go in, you say, all right, man, you know what? This is cool. I'm just going to get with the program. I don't really care right now. I'm just going to do it, bro. Yeah, so sure enough, they were just like chilling, having a pretty good time. And this is when the spoiled kid starts to say something a little questionable, a little sus, you might say. Because the spoiled kid's like, hey, man, by the way, if mom asks, say that we're watching TV. Yeah, so at this point, Brian was kind of thinking to himself, okay, like, sure, I can do that. I don't really care. Like, that's fine, right? Fine. But also, I'm kind of confused. Like, why does this kid want me to, like, lie to his mom? Like, it just didn't really make a lot of sense to Brian at the moment, because it was like, okay, why would it matter if we're playing video games or watching TV? The real reason why it mattered is because Brian's mom knew that he had like a computer or whatever, and basically the spoiled kid's mom knew that they could watch TV because there was like a TV set upstairs. She knew that he had a computer, didn't know that he had another super cool computer, because little did Brian know, but the spoiled kid had a less expensive, still a computer that works, bro. Like, if you can play some games and use the internet, a computer is a computer to a certain extent. So the spoiled kid had his like old computer like literally put away in his like closet, so his new super expensive gaming computer that he may or may not have bought with his mom's credit card. Basically, the spoiled kid's mom knew that he had access to like watch TV and watch YouTube videos or something, but she also knew that like he didn't really have anything to like play video games with, because she kind of knew, like, she wasn't a gamer or anything. She didn't really know, oh my god, these are my son's specs, bro. These are his PC specs or something like that. But also, she kind of knew that, like, he wasn't able to play that many video games because he would always complain to her, like, Mom, I really want the PS4, I really want the Xbox, I really want a good gaming computer so that I can play games. So, that was a little weird to Brian, because at the time, he's like, oh, why would she care for watching TV or playing video games? However, I will say I do know a lot of parents that for some reason, if they hear, oh, my son's watching TV and letting his, like, not even, like, just passively consuming, oh, that's totally fine. But those same, like, parents that are totally fine if you're watching TV, I sometimes feel like they just go insane or ballistic, like, oh my god, you're playing video games, you're rotting your brain. Yeah, there's definitely something to say about video games and, like, video game addictions. Like, if you're spending 12 hours a day playing video games, there might be a problem, or you're just having fun and you're a kid. But here's the thing, bro. Like, I've never understood, like, even my parents, because they grew up with TV, but they never grew up with video games. So when I'd be playing, like, Minecraft or something, they'd be like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. Go watch TV instead. I'm like, bro, with video games, okay, it's not the greatest thing for you, but also, look, you're solving puzzles. Like, you need to, like, a lot of video games are actually pretty, like, actively intensive brain-wise. Sure, you're getting dopamine return. You're getting reward signals for not really accomplishing too much, like, in real life, and you should be careful with that. But at the same time, it's like TV, bro. You literally sit there and absorb. You're just passively consuming. Like, at least with video games, at least your brain is active. So I've never really understood that. I think it's really just a product of, like, time. I think it's because they grew up with TV and they understand it, and they didn't grow up with video games. And there's a lot of scare tactics. Like, you look at, like, some news channel, guys, video games are blowing up your kids' brains. Make them watch TV instead. Make them watch us. It's like, I get it. So I think Brian was just thinking to himself, oh, this mom is probably just one of those moms that just prioritizes, TV and thinks video games are the devil and literally going to convert her son to Satanism or something. I don't even know at this point. But yeah, so sure enough, Brian didn't think that much of it. He kind of let it slide, to put it that way. He was like, okay, whatever, sure, bro, like, I got you. And the spoiled kid was kind of weird, because then he, once again, doubled down on the emphasis of, like, look, you really can't tell her we're playing video games right now. So Brian at this point was pretty convinced that, oh, it's because she doesn't like video games, not because the spoiled kid actually spent like $5,000 on a credit card that she doesn't know of yet. Like, that didn't even cross his mind for a second. Obviously, looking back on the whole situation, it now makes a lot more sense to him, and all the details that were kind of weird in retrospect are like, oh, okay, that's why he said X, or that's why he said Y. So anyways, after, like, the spoiled kid said that thing, they went just straight back to playing video games, not thinking anything about it. So anyways, within a couple hours go by, they're done playing, like, CSGO or Fortnite or Minecraft. I don't know what they're playing, bro. They're playing something. And that's when they hear a call down from his mom, or the spoiled kid's mom, basically telling them it was time for dinner. So once again, the spoiled kid, I mean, he said this to Brian 2 hours ago, but kind of just to make sure, he's like, remember, bro, you can't tell her we're playing video games. And Brian's like, yep, bro, I get it. And that's when Brian says, oh, does she not like video games? Is she, like, only cool with TV and doesn't want you to play them, so you have to do them secretly? And like, the spoiled kid, like, he almost looked like he was, like, trying to come up with a lie, bro. Like, he literally looked like he was trying to come up with something. He's like, yeah, that's what's up. And it was like a weird response. Like, it looked like his eyes were darting back and forth. He was, like, panting a little bit. It's like, dude, like, chill out. Like, well, what? Yeah, so that was a little weird. But once again, as I said earlier, Brian isn't expecting for, like, the spoiled kid to, like, be hiding anything from his mom that's, like, really bad, like spending thousands and thousands of dollars on her credit card behind her back. He just assumed, oh, he's secretly playing video games. And honestly, like, you should let your parents, like, decide. Like, your parents a lot of times know best, but in a situation like this, it really doesn't matter. Like, it's just seriously not a big deal if you're playing video games or not. Like, seriously, bro, who cares? Anyways, so they walk downstairs, and the spoiled kid's mom is like, oh, like, Brian, how's it going? Like, are you cool with, like, steak and potatoes? And I mean, hey, man, if it's a good steak, it's a good steak. Like, if anyone offers me a steak, I'm gonna take that steak, bro. That's all I'm saying. But Brian's like, yeah, sure, that sounds great. So they sit down, and there's, like, a plate of potatoes, like a plate with some steaks on it, passed around, whatever. And the spoiled kid's dad is out, like, I don't know, some work thing or something. So the spoiled kid's mom is like, oh, so what have you guys been doing? And the spoiled kid's like, watching TV. And he said it really weirdly. Like, Brian just thought, okay, like, he's acting sus because, like, he doesn't want his mom to know that he's playing video games. When in reality, he doesn't want his mom to know that he's playing video games because she knows that there's no real way for him to play these video games. Not because she doesn't care about video games, bro. Like, she really doesn't care. The thing is, though, they couldn't really afford to buy an Xbox or PS4 or gaming computer because those things are really expensive. Yeah, so it was kind of a weird response by the spoiled kid, but it also made a lot of sense. So they were sitting there, and, Brian was looking at his steak. Secret word of the day is steak, so if you made it this far into the video, comment steak down below in the comment section. And while you're in the comments commenting steak, which is the secret word, make sure to check out the pinned comment, as in the pinned comment there's two links, and one link is to my Spotify account. I upload these stories as podcasts, so if you like listening to these as podcasts on Spotify, make sure to listen to them on there. It actually does help me out if you do that. And also there's a link to my second channel where I tell stories. These stories I get from you guys, and on the second channel, I get them from Reddit, so you have more variety. Please subscribe to that channel, as it really does help me out, as I'm still growing on there. And while you're down there, leave a like in the video to claim your free nothing, as always, and let's get right back to it. So they're sitting around the table, and things are totally fine. Things seem to be going well, whatever, right? So they finish up their meal, and, the spoiled kid's mom's like, all right, guys, make sure you don't stay up too late. If you guys are up past 10, I'm going to come up and, tell you guys to go to bed. But if I don't hear a lot of noise up there past 10, I'm not going to come up. Basically, the spoiled kid's mom was saying, you guys are free to do what you want. I'm going to let you guys go. As long as you go to bed before 10, you won't see me again. And I can respect that. I feel like it's always good when, I feel like when I'm a parent, I'm going to be pretty chill with my kids when they have people over. I'm not going to be checking in every 5 seconds. What are you guys doing? Hey, do you want to involve me? Ha, ha, ha. No, bro. Let your kid play with their friend, bro. I don't know. So this mom was being pretty chill, but she's about to be not chill, which is totally unexpected when she gets a little thing in the mail that may or may not have let her know that her son spent thousands and thousands of dollars on video game equipment and all that jazz, right? But that will happen in just a second. Anyways, though, so the spoiled kid and Brian, they head upstairs, and they go back to doing what they were doing before. So they're playing video games or whatever, and so at that point, the mailman must have come late or something, or maybe, the mailman came earlier, but Brian's mom is just now going through their mail, because Brian and the spoiled kid, they're sitting there, and they're playing their video games or whatever, and that's when you hear, a gasp. Or, I don't know, somehow it was so loud of a gasp, or maybe there's just, a lull in the video game where there wasn't a lot of noise. Maybe it was, a loading screen or something without the background music on. Either way, somehow they hear, the mom make a noise where it's pretty clear that she's seeing something pretty astonishing. So, within 30 seconds later, basically what happens is that the spoiled kid's mom screams out, spoiled kid! Says his actual name, but we're just going to call him spoiled kid. So she's like, spoiled kid, I need you to come down here for just a second. And you could tell by the way she was saying it, she was kind of I don't know, she was kind of tiptoeing around, really chewing her son out in front of, a guest, but also trying to hold back the rage that she was feeling, right? So the spoiled kid, his face starts to drain a little bit. His face goes white. It's bro saw a ghost, dude. He was not having a good time. That's all I can say. And remember, at this point, Brian still has no idea what's going on. And Brian thinks, because he knows that, the kid's in trouble. I don't know, man, maybe Brian was thinking, okay, maybe, the grade, because, grades came out kind of recently for, one class that they had together. So maybe, she just saw his grade on a test and it wasn't good and all that kind of stuff, right? I don't know, man. He didn't expect that what actually happened was the fact that, he spent thousands of dollars on a credit card for all the stuff that they were using then. So Brian doesn't really think that much of it. And the spoiled kid, though, he knew what was up. Look, the thing is, the spoiled kid, yeah, he was in 6th grade, and yeah, maybe, the concept of money is a little weird to him. However, the spoiled kid did know that, when he stole his mom's credit card, typed in the details, and bought stuff online, he knew that eventually his mom would find out. He just knew it. So it's kind of, I guess the spoiled kid just wanted to, he wanted this stuff so bad that he just used his mom's credit card without permission, which, by the way, guys, never do that. That's stealing from your mom. That's a huge disrespect. And also, that's just, not a good thing to do. But I feel like the spoiled kid kind of knew, okay, my time's going to be up kind of soon, so let me at least enjoy this with a friend. Low-key, that's a little sad, bro. I don't know. But anyways, the spoiled kid pauses the game, is like, all right, man. And like you could tell this kid was sweating. You could tell that he was worried, bro. He's like, I'll be back. I'll be back soon. Yeah. I'll be back soon, bro. Yeah. And you could tell the spoiled kid was he was peeing his pants right now, dude. Because he knew what he was about to go down to. He was about to go down to a mom who was not happy at him at all. Yeah, so Brian basically watches as this kid like gets up, pauses the game, kind of knows like his last game on the console probably because he knows his mom's gonna force him to try and return it. I mean, obviously, first of all, like I don't think they can even like afford this, bro. Like I think this is honestly putting them maybe even underwater. So the spoiled kid really should not have done that. Like that's really a messed up thing to do. But the spoiled kid basically knew that like that was his last game probably that he was ever going to play on that thing. So he like pauses the game, gets up, takes like a last look at it, like literally takes like a last glance at it cuz he's like, "Oh yeah. Oh man, like this is the last time I'll ever see you. I have to part ways or whatever." Yeah, because like Brian was sitting there like, why is this kid like being so dramatic? Like he got some bad grades, he's gonna get chewed out for it. Who cares, bro? Like literally, who cares? But little did Brian know that this kid was not just gonna get chewed out for bad grades. He was gonna get absolutely smoked. So the kid walks downstairs. And I guess the walls must have been pretty thin. I mean, for them to hear the mom gasp, like the walls must have been really thin. And also since the game was paused, like there was no sound in the house besides the mom of the spoiled kid yelling at the spoiled kid. So she starts yelling at him, I just got a letter in the mail from the bank that, $5,000 has been spent on my card. And at this point, Brian's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Wait a minute. What? And the mom's like, yeah, and I'm looking at it, and these were not purchases made by me. These are purchases of an Xbox, a PS4, a new gaming computer, a new gaming mouse, a new gaming chair. Which, first of all, how did, this spoiled kid must have actually been kind of like a god with, timing and stuff? Because, how did all that stuff get dropped off and, the mom didn't see all these, I don't know how the mom didn't notice all these packaging, didn't notice all these new packages coming in. I feel like the spoiled kid must have been knowing exactly when the package would come and would wait outside and hide it in the backyard and then sneakily bring it upstairs. A ton of work must have gone in. But at this point, right, Brian is sitting there and it's like, oh, he looks around and he's like, okay. Because right off the bat, he felt like something was a little bit off when they were in a very average middle-class house, but then you walk into the kid's room and he has gaming computer, PS4, PlayStation, Xbox, Wii, all this kind of stuff, right? I just said PS4 and PlayStation. I'm not the smartest, bro. Anyways, so yeah, he's like, oh. And then he looks down at his controller, looks up at the game, and is like, oh. And he starts to realize all of this stuff is bought on his mom's credit card without her knowing. So the mom continues to yell at the spoiled kid, being like, we need to return all this stuff immediately. We got bills coming up in a week and my bank, our bank accounts at overdraft or all this type of stuff, bro. It's a bad situation for sure. Yeah, but anyways, the mom continues to basically chew out the spoiled kid, being like, we need to sell this stuff immediately or bad things are really going to happen, which it's really hard, bro, because Brian was hearing this and he's like, oh my God. Because basically this kid, the spoiled kid, put his parents into a really, really tough financial situation. Because I'm not saying, they maybe not were living paycheck to paycheck, but $5,000 to $6,000 in a bank account, that's a lot of money to have. Especially okay, maybe you get paid I don't know, maybe they got paid $6K a month, $60K, $70K a year for a child, 30, 40-year-olds, right? That might happen, especially kind of middle-class household. Dude basically spent a month's salary pre-tax before any expenses on gaming stuff. And here's the thing, the expenses are coming and you think they have a big fund saved away. No, bro, they don't got anything. So bills have to be paid. And, went to go check the bank account and you were at negative $400 and you're like, wait a minute, pause, bro. What? And then you check the statements and you see all these video game stuff that you know that you didn't buy. So yeah, at this point, Brian hears the spoiled kid and the spoiled kid's mom like walking up the stairs up to the room, and Brian is starting to realize, oh wait, they're gonna like come in and they're gonna like come in and have to take all the stuff because like yeah, they needed to like resell this stuff as quickly as possible or try and get a refund. And thankfully, right, a lot of the stuff wasn't that used or anything, so they could probably get a lot of their money back. But it's gonna be a huge hassle, and they're probably not gonna get 100% of their money back. Really, like, look, here's the thing. Even if they get like 80% back, like they might still be down $1,000 or something like that, which is a huge amount of money. Like for anyone, but especially when you're living, you got a kid, you got bills to pay. Like, and all the only reason you're down that money is because your son stole your credit card and bought all this gaming stuff. Like, bro, you got to be kidding me right now. Yeah, so eventually the door swings open. The spoiled kid is his face is all red because I think he's been crying or something. I don't totally know. And the spoiled kid's mom looks super flustered, like her hair's a little messed up, her face is all like very emotional or whatever. And the spoiled kid's mom's like looks at the spoiled kid, is like, you gather up all the stuff you got and bring it downstairs. And then she looks at Brian and she kind of like puts on this fake smile because she's angry. She's mad. But also the thing is she's not mad at Brian. He didn't know any of this to her knowledge, and he didn't, right? So she kind of like puts on a fake smile. It's like, "Brian, honey, could you come outside for a second so I could talk to you?" And Brian's like, "Oh, yeah, sure." So he puts down the Xbox controller, gets up, and walks upstairs. It walks out to the hallway. She's like, "Look, I hate to say this, but the spoiled kid, your friend, he did some bad stuff, and we're gonna be really busy trying to fix the mess that he made tonight. I really hate to say this, but is there any way you could like call your mom and see if she could pick you up? Brian is in no position to have any fun tonight, and he's going to be extremely busy, and you're just not going to have a good time here. If it doesn't work, that's totally okay. You can still sleep here. I just know that you're probably not going to have a good time, and I want you to have a good time." And so Brian's like, "Yeah, sure." Brian didn't really want to be there in the first place because, I mean, he wanted to be there when things were going well, but he knew that, like, the whole night would literally just be him, like, sitting there awkwardly as the spoiled kid was crying, trying to, like, bring all of the toys he bought and, like, try and resell them back or try and get a refund. So, Brian calls up his mom and is like, "Hey, Mom, like, something happened. I'm fine, and I didn't do anything, but I need you to pick me up." And Brian's mom's like, "Really?" Because, I don't know, she probably was like, "Oh, finally I have a day off." Like, she loves her son, but parenting is hard, bro. So she's like, "That's fine. Okay, I think she was like, bruh, at first, but then she's like, "All right, cool, fine. I'll be there in an hour." So for the next hour, it's super awkward because Brian is just sitting there as the spoiled kid is like crying, getting chewed out by his mom. But eventually Brian's mom shows up, picks him up, and on the car ride back, she's like, "Brian, what happened?"